She called me, she told me, I can't even go to church. I think people will be looking at me as if I still have COVID. You understand? So for those who lost their loved ones, they felt alone, they felt isolated, they felt disconnected from the world, from everyone else.
Can we say that we have done enough as a church, as a community, society, as far as these people are concerned, have we done enough?
From the experience or from the people that I spoke to?
Yeah, the people you have encountered.
They mentioned that they got a little, they got not that much support from the family members, from the church, because of stigma. People thought when they got there they will catch the virus. They would say to me, even just a phone call away, people wouldn't do that. So they feel that they haven't gotten much support from the family members, from the church.
And also, if they've not got much support from, what do you think would have been some of the factors?
I think for this period, it was because of the stigma, as I mentioned, and a lot of people tend to judge those who were sick.
Okay.
So they stigmatize them, and you wouldn't relate with that person. Even to go there, people will be scared. I talked about fear earlier on. People will fear that when I get into contact with these people, then I'll catch the virus. So the people who are affected or infected themselves also would stigmatize themselves.
Okay.
They'll be scared to reach out to ask for help. They would even take time to go to church. I remember one of the parishioners, she called me, she told me, I can't even go to church. I think people will be looking at me as if I still have COVID. You understand? So for those who lost their loved ones, they felt alone, they felt isolated, they felt disconnected from the world, from everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. And also, it's not only about this COVID thing. One thing I've observed is that sometimes we find it difficult to come closer to people when they are grieving. As you said earlier, that we have this kind of thing within us where we always tell people, be strong, be strong. And also we used to tell men, a man does not cry when you are going through that, be strong and all of that. I think that could also be kind of a factor. We seem to ignore people's feelings. From a bigger look, I think it has to do with our upbringing also. That we
our
suppress,
socialization,
we suppress a lot of things that we think it is normal.
Yes.
Certain things are normal, and then we don't try as much as possible to actually come to the aid of people. Is that, oh no, go through it. Time heals. So with time you go through it.
Yes. And nothing obviously doesn't fix itself. In either way, you'll need treatment. Treatment, I'm not talking about self-medicating or taking treatment, but when we talk treatment is therapy. You go for therapy, you get that support from other people. That's when you can move on with your life.
Also, what are some of the signs? Like looking at someone who has gone through it, what are some of the signs that I'll know that this person needs help?
Okay.
Would they kind of manifest? Then I'll look and then this person actually needs help. What are some of the signs, do you think?
You mean someone who
lost the loved ones, and you sometimes you look at these people, they tell you I'm fine. You ask, are you okay? They say I'm fine, but you realize that they are manifesting some, So what are some of these signs that I'll know that no, this person is not fine?
Okay. Yes. There can be physical signs and emotional signs. Okay. Physical signs, some would lose weight or they would gain weight. Okay. Some people when they're stressed, they will eat a lot. Some don't eat. The other thing, it can be insomnia.
Okay.
They cannot sleep well. They can also have fatigue.
Okay.
Yes, they can have nausea. They can have a lot of signs.
Okay.
Yes. And then for psychological signs, obviously that will be sadness. Some will be feeling guilty that I could have helped that person, and yet they know they could not help that person. Some are still in fear, some are in shock, denial, and some are angry. So those are the signs of someone who would say I'm fine, but when you read them, the non-verbal cues, you see that they're not fine.
Yeah, because especially with the COVID now, that a person is taken away from the family, you could not see the person again. And the person feels that I've not done it much. I could have gone there with the person, stay, listen to the last words of the person. And with the COVID, people are just isolated, taking quarantine, and the next time the person is dead, could not see the person, and so all that going through within.
Yes. If I can give you some experience from one of the family members.
Okay.
All of them were sick. There were 4. There's the mother and the 3 of her children. And then she told me, why did God take this one? And I asked her, but all of you are sick. Who would have gone amongst the 3 of you? She said, I could have done much better, but all of them were sick, and she felt guilty that they didn't do much to save the daughter. So these are some of the things that came about when I was speaking to these people.
Okay. So now the question is, how do we help? How do we help these people?
We should give these people all kind of supports that you think of. For those who have lost the loved ones, of course, material support would be appropriate.
When you say material support?
Material support, I mean, maybe the person who departed was a breadwinner
for the family,
or was the caretaker, and now there's that gap. So as a society, as family members, we should look after those who are left behind, who have been taken care of, that person. The most important thing that I would encourage is to listen to these people, because sometimes just listening to the person ventilating, talking about this thing, that is kind of support. We think it's a minor thing, but listening, giving that ear to someone who's gone through this, it's something. Yes. Another thing, we can refer to professionals if we see that as a lay person you cannot manage this kind of challenges. And then, of course, there are a lot of aspects when it comes to support. I've talked about material. For those who will be sick, like some would develop physical illnesses, you refer them to the health professionals. And then for the spiritual, when they need to go for spiritual direction, and so that they can have hope. Yes.
Because when it happens like that, people think that God is not being fair to them, and they even stop coming to church.
They even stop coming to church,
and they don't want to talk to those even come from church. Like, allow me to be alone, and I'm not coming to church again. And all of that, because they think that God has not been fair to them.
Yes.
And I think even in religious bodies, the priests and whatever, they also need to. Pastors, we need to be closer to these people, as you said. Ministry of presence, just be present there. And go visit them in their home. We have to take some risk.
Yes.
We can't just sit home and say that because of COVID, let's allow people. Now that we realize that it's kind of not severe, we need to go out there and see how we can be of help to these people. Just sit down and listen to them, and that helps. And also, you were saying the other time also that we need to create some kind of a social group.
A support group.
Social support group, yeah. So how is it like, this social support group? How is it like?
A social, there are different kinds of support groups.
Okay.
But I would suggest a structured support group in our churches. We could come up with names. It can be bereavement and grief support group, or any other name which
support group.
Yes, which can help people with similar experiences, so that they can support each other. That could work. And then that could target different types of groups. You can have a support group for young children, for the elderly, for the widowed. You see.
Coming up next week, Wednesday.
As you talk about the young people, how do we help them? Because you realize that is at this time, most of them, they don't know what is happening. And we treat them like adults, or we need to have a special plan for them? Like, how do we treat the young people in this regard. You know, they don't. Some think that we think that maybe they don't know anything, so we allow them just to go through it just like that. You know, then a time comes and where is mama, where is daddy, and all of that. Well, how do we handle them, the young folk?
It depends on the maturity of these kids.
Capsule Talk Show comes your way every Wednesday. Watch out for our next episode. Thank you.